back on. Let's check, see what happens.
going?
Oh, very well, thank you. Very, very well.
There we go.
Turn your stream off now. Now you're here. Yeah, we're okay. We're okay. We're just climbing out. Just climbing out. Just scraped up to 2,500 feet.
Yeah, I'm up to 6.
Yeah.
I've leveled off at 6. I don't know what altitude you want to go to.
I think 6 is about good here. Let's have a look. Active sky, flight plan, briefing. Active headwind 5. More favourable winds at flight level 2,000. I'm not going down there. Oh, it's only like 1.4 knots.
Yeah.
So I think knots. Oh no, I'm going to go at 2,000. I'll go up to 6. And then review it in a couple of hours and see what the wind's done. It's a bit better down low, but not much.
Yeah, I see Little Nav Maps had an update. They've now added winds as well.
Yeah.
So you can check here on... You can check for winds at flight plan cruise level, cruise altitude, or winds at ground only.
Yeah,
or for a selected altitude.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. Yeah. So at 6,000, wind direction is 117 degrees at 28 knots.
Nice.
And temperature 21 degrees.
Lovely.
Static temperature 16 degrees. Visibility 6 nautical miles.
So is that reading your sim, or VATSIM, or NORA, or what's the source?
This is little nav map.
Yeah, but what's it reading? Where's it taking the data from? Because you can select it, whichever.
It's taking it from the altitude.
Now, what's the source? If you go to weather, drop down, it's either the flight sim, active sky, NORA, VATSIM, or IVAO. That's the weather source, where it's getting its data from.
Let me have a look here. Minutes.
Weather tag at the top.
Flight sim.
Flight sim. So it's picking it up from
Yeah.
Microsoft. Okay, so that's your Microsoft weather. It's not the not active
Yeah.
sky weather. Mine's on active sky, so. So I've got everything's locked together to whatever I'm seeing. Because you can have different sources, you get different readings. Depends what you use, obviously, for your weather. If you're using the flight sim internal stuff, then fine, put it on flight sim.
Yeah.
But I just lock everything to active sky, because that's my primary flight sim source for weather. I don't use the internal Lockheed Martin P3D default weather. I use the real weather.
Okay, I've just switched over to active sky now.
Obviously you need to have that running, you know, in the sim so it all works together.
I don't think I've got active sky running.
Well, that's not going to work then, is it? You know, you're not going to. You need everything locked together. You know, active sky running, taking your data from it in the sim, taking your data from active sky. Little nav map pulling the data from active sky. Get all 3 or 4 elements together, and then you've got the correct winds. Otherwise, you'll get the. If you just select active sky in little nav map, you'll get the winds for that, but it's not what you're doing, because you're not, if you haven't got active sky on, you've still got your Microsoft wind, so it won't be the same.
You gotta buy active sky. It's not a free app, huh?
Oh no, absolutely no. It's
yeah, okay.
no, it's not your freeware. Or just select flight sim and do your internal stuff. As long as it's all the same, it doesn't matter. As long as it's all the same, you know. If you're using Microsoft, then I don't think there's an option for Microsoft in flight sim, is there? In little nav map. So in that case, you'll have to choose flight sim, so it follows what the sim's doing.
Yeah.
And it picks it up from the simulator, and then whatever your weather in your simulator is doing, that's what you'll get. I'm not sure if your wind source will be able to do that though. That's your airport weather source, you can select your flight sim, but your wind source is only disable manual or NORA. Little packages. Hello. Happy Tuesday. Welcome on in. Early start. It's not too bad. 9 a.m. on the wheels up, or floats up, or whatever you want to call it in a flying boat. But yeah. Welcome. We're starting our final leg of the long way home. And this one is Port of Spain, Trinidad, to the marine terminal at LaGuardia. Real time, real weather. And I'm still climbing, so after 50 minutes. We've only got 4,500 feet. I'm barely scraping 200 feet per minute. And we're down to 90 knots, 95 knots climbing.
Right, it's that time of the morning. I need to go make something to drink.
Okay, copy that. And that's the voice
Digest the
of
biscuits
Bossman.
and
Biscuits?
some Earl Grey. Yes.
Oh, blimey.
Biscuits. Biscuits.
Just have breakfast, for goodness sake. Biscuits, yeah.
That is my breakfast.
Oh,
That's breakfast.
geez.
That is breakfast.
Oh. Blimey. Okay.
Ask my sister. She also used to have, well, I think she still does, biscuits for breakfast.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is, it struggles on the climb because it's heavy. We've got full tanks of fuel. We're heavy. It just creeps itself up. These radials are not the most powerful back in the day, 1940. So we're struggling, but we're okay. It's flying by the numbers, as it should.
Right. Get my... Oh. My T-sign on.
Those islands over there it's Grenada. That's Grenada. Grenada. 200 feet to go. There we go. 6,000 feet. Come back on all the power and the props. There we go. Okay, cowl flaps. .5 degrees. We'll lock those there. Okay. Let's resync the props. Two can come down a bit. Four can come down a bit. Three can come up a bit. Down. Four down. Yeah. There we go, that's pretty good there. This props all synced. Use 400 gallons of fuel getting up to here already of the 600 to do some fuel transfer soon. Well, not soon, but use a third of it. Okay. happy with those settings there. Right, so that's settled us into cruise now. Morning, Jack. Good morning. You just joined us on our climb out of Trinidad. Literally, I'm just reached 6,000 feet after an hour. We left at 9 o'clock. I've just got to cruise. Just settled in everything. So we're doing 112 miles an hour, about 95 knots. Our ETA into New York is 21:05 Zulu. So 10 p.m. tonight. And it's now 10 a.m. so 12 hours time. Is it? Yeah, it's been playing up this morning. It's been playing up. Yeah, I see it here. Skip frames due to encoding. Yeah, there's something amiss is here. Yeah. Yeah, we've had trouble this morning with it. We've had trouble this morning. What I'll do, I'm going to stop the stream and have a look at the settings again and see if I can do anything with it. Because it, yeah, it's been a bit dodgy today. I don't know why. Yeah, it sort of comes and goes, doesn't it? Whether it's having a bit of a moment today, or it's something's amiss with my kind of settings here. But as ever, nothing's changed. You know, it's been the same. So it could be that OBS or Twitch is having a bit of a moment. I've reset the numbers and I'm looking at it. It seems okay right now, but it can change in an instant. Keep an eye on it, see what happens. It's not unwatchable. Okay. That's a polite way of saying it's crap.
Okay, we're back.
watching the cat play with your cup of coffee there. Interesting. It's great, isn't he? Little spiky hair.
Yeah.
What? Uptime? Got back to sleep.
The cat feels like I do. My hair looks the same in the morning when I wake up. All over the show. Cute at that age, eh? Cats. That's a problem. A lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, they have these animals. They have them when they get this age, and then they're all cute, and then when they grow up, then they don't, pay attention to them.
Yeah.
That's the sad part. Like my neighbour next door. The daughter bought a dog. Then the daughter moved out. Now the mother's saddled with the dog.
Ah, that's not good. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And the dog gets left outside in the courtyard.
Yeah.
It's a brick courtyard. There's no grass or anything. And then you hear the dog scooting the food bowl around the courtyard.
Yeah.
It's bored out of its skull.
Oh, that's terrible.
So cruel, man.
Yeah. Jack says good morning to you, by the way.
Morning, Jack.
He's in the chat here.
We will stream up again.
So my ETA is 21 Zulu. So about 12 hours. 12 hours time. 10 p.m. local time. It's 10 a.m. now, so 12 hours tonight. So that's good. Thought it was going to be longer than that. It's a 1900-mile flight. Get it done in 12 hours. Good.
11X. So we're taking off from TTPP, which is Call International. Port of Spain. KLGA. Yeah. Right here.
Thanks for the raid.
Oh, something's happening. Something's happening. And it's Uncle Steve coming in. It's Uncle Steve coming in with the raid. Here he is. Welcome. I was just watching you. And your 7-4 flights. Very nice, very informative. Tried to learn a lot. So welcome. Crafton, welcome. Hello. Welcome on in. This is the flight they call the long way home. The long way home. It's a Pan American Clipper flying boat that found itself stuck in Auckland Harbour at the Pearl Harbor when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December the 7th, 1941. This Clipper was downrange, as they say, away from base in Auckland, and so it was route back to California was blocked by the Japanese Navy and the carriers. They couldn't get back, so they figured out what to do. So after a few days in Auckland, they decided to go back to New York, the long way home. So instead of 6,000 miles back to San Francisco, they went 18,000 miles all the way back round the world, and that's the flight we're doing. So we're doing every mile as they did it back in the day. So it was I can show you. No, I can't. I've got the wrong thing in. Yeah, so but it was Auckland to New Caledonia, New Caledonia to Gladstone in Australia, Gladstone to Darwin, Darwin to Surabaya, Surabaya up to what used to be called Ceylon, it's now Sri Lanka, then up to Karachi, then Karachi to Bahrain, then Bahrain to Khartoum, Khartoum to Leopardville, which is now Kinshasa in the DRC, and then they went Kinshasa all the way to Natal in Brazil, but we didn't. We stopped at Ascension because that's a 3,000 mile hop. That would have been a 24-hour stream flight. So we stopped at Ascension, which is halfway. So Ascension to Natal, Natal to Port of Spain, Trinidad, which was yesterday, and then the final leg today is Trinidad to the Marine Air Terminal at LaGuardia. It's 1,924 nautical miles, and it'll take about 13 hours. So all good.
I just dropped 2 pictures for you there in your Discord pics of the 2 of us flying together.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Oh, lovely.
And I think that was Kaharia as well there on the far side.
Oh, right.
In that one shot.
Yeah. With the escort. Right. British accent. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, United Kingdom. How's the flight? Wait, you're doing the long way home. You love the story. Yeah, it's a great story, isn't it? I've got the book here. I've read it ages ago, but I dug it out the other day because we fancied doing the flight. Bossman and I, he's flying along with me as well. We're all doing it together here. So every leg I'm reading the relevant chapter in the book, and it's fantastic some of the things they had to do, particularly around the sort of Indonesia area, because that wasn't a usual Pan Am haunt, so they had no bases to go to. They were scrounging spare parts on the way, scrounging fuel. Some of the places they could get, all they could get is 80 octane automobile fuel instead of the 100 octane aviation fuel. So the engineers, tried to make the thing work, and it was pinking and backfiring and all sorts of things, the engines, as they tried to lean it out, because they just couldn't get hold of the aviation fuel because it was commandeered for the military, and this was a civilian airliner. And also they had the threat of the Japanese overrunning them, particularly round about Surabaya and along that Indonesian peninsula, because they were racing through China and down through Malaya and Singapore, So they just got away from there in time before it was overrun. And then the next problems they had was right, because obviously these flying boats are designed to go from port to port over water, but obviously on this route they had a lot of overland flying, so that was another worrying for Captain Bob Ford. You know, across Saudi Arabia, all across Africa, up through the central belt of India. And so if they were forced to put down there, that's it, flight over. Obviously no wheels, belly land, and that was it. So they really looked after the engines and carefully inspected everything they could. Epic trip, yeah. Sounds like a route for world flight, 1941, yeah. 9 hours 40 for me tomorrow. Oh, 9 hours? That's a little hop in these things. Yeah, Bossman and I have been doing 10, 12, 14, 16 hour days, 16-hour flights. And because it only goes along, what are we now, 110 miles an hour? So 95 knots, that's all it does. That's its top speed. So we don't get very far. And no pressurized. No, wasn't pressurized.
Thanks for the follow.
Crafton, thanks for the follow, my friend. Welcome. Yeah, so they regularly flew at between sort of 6,000 and 8,000 feet. But quite often they went down low to get under the CBs, under all the crap. They couldn't outrun the CBs high-wise. And so they spent a lot of time, if there's any weather around, quite low. You know, at one point in the book they said they were at 500 feet to get under all the crap, because, you know, unpressurized, they just had to fly through it. They had no radar, all they had was visuals, their eyes, what they could figure out to avoid the weather. Navigation, obviously, no VORs, no nothing like that, no magenta lines. I don't know if you can see outside. No, you can't see that, but there's a dome at the top of the aircraft, and the navigator used to climb up her steps and sit on a little seat, and he used to get his octet, and at night he used to get star shots, and that was how he used to navigate. Star signs, stars, as they did on the boats for thousands of years, and as very accurate it was. You know, they could fly very accurately using the stars. And Pan American hired the best of the best. I mean, these were the rock stars of aviation back in the day. These are like the Concorde elite pilots. You know, the navigators, the best in the world, the radio people, the flight deck crew, the stewards. You know, they were all Michelin stewards, from the best restaurants. You know, the real top-notch, top-of-the-line crew on the flying boats. Celestial navigation, yep, absolutely, yeah. They did the star shots and the sun during the day to know where they were. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, you take your 3 shots. Work out where you are, you know where the stars are. So you can work out. So that was the engineering place, where they did all the fuel management and stuff like that. There's a lot of fuel management in this, because your 4 engines were fed by the 2 wing tanks, port and starboard, but you can only get 600 gallons in the wing tanks, and we're almost down to 300 now already after an hour and a half. So in the next half an hour I'll have to start pumping from the aux tanks, what they call the hydro stabilizing tanks. There's a lot of fuel in here. So 2.5, there's 5,000 gallons of fuel available in these aux tanks, and what you have to do is select each one. There are 2 inboard, 2 outboards, and then put the electric pumps on, and then they pump them into the wings. It's a very small electric pump, so it takes ages to do it. You switch them on and leave it for 20 minutes and come back. So you do each one in turn. You take about 100 gallons from your port inboard, then your starboard inboard, and then you repeat that for the outboard, and then this level comes back up. But you mustn't go over 600, because if you do, you just waste it. It just goes over the overflow and spills out into the ocean. You have to watch that with care. So that's a regular thing you've got to do as the engineer. So, you know, you can't set this going and then go to bed and come back. You know, the gyro pilot will just about hold it. It's just a wings level. It's not an autopilot. It's just a gyro. This thing here. It's a very early Mark 1 Sperry. So she'll just like hold the wings level. You can't set an altitude and have it hold. You can't set a heading. You can just keep the wings level and she'll hold it within a certain tolerance. Obviously, if it's very gusty, it won't work. Oh, there's Mr. Bossman on his biscuits again. I can hear that chomping away.
Yep.
Fuel flow is here. Yeah, we're currently doing about 73 gallons an hour per engine. We get about 280, 290 gallons an hour on the fuel. Hence why you needed, you know, a lot of fuel. Took a lot of fuel to get not very far, very fast, this thing. You could probably eke a little bit more out of that. Because we are top of the green with the manifold. I'm at 35 inches. You could go down to, you know, 32, 31, but then you drop speed. I'd be down below 100 miles an hour into the, you know, 90 odd knots range. So I'm running top of the green, which is in the safe zone for long-term cruising. But you do use more fuel. But as we've got plenty of fuel, it's a trade-off, and I'm willing to accept that. And you can, there's all the fuel selectors. You can select any tank to any engine in pairs. It's a very clever system from 1941. Various other things. And here we have the radio man. This is a radio station here. Obviously no VORs, but there were NDBs, so you could tune into the weather stations. There was a series of weather stations they put in the Atlantic and Pacific to help navigation, and they used to send out Morse identifiers at various points, and you can tune these in, and you get Morse idents in your ears when you go fly over them, and the needle would deflect to where the station was. Obviously no DMEs or anything like that, so you didn't know how far, but you know exactly where they were. These clever guys can work that out. And likewise, these are the transmitters. So there's your Morse keys there, and part of their SOP was to send out a position report every 30 minutes back to New York, to Pan Am headquarters in New York. So beep 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 beep, you send your speed, position, altitude, whatnot every 30 minutes. That was part of the radio man's job. And then over here is your navigator. This is where the nav station was, with his direction finder, his P8 compass, the drift sight, all the nav rules, all the stuff, and part of the navigator. That was through there, that back door. You can't see it, it's too dark. But that was where you went to get to the hatch to get to the dome, to the celestial navigation. So. Oh, and while we're back here as well, this door here that was the door to go into the wing space. You could actually walk through into the wing space to get access to the 2 engines. So if you needed to check anything, any oil or sparking or cabling or whatever you wanted, anything accessible points, you can actually go through and work on the engines inside the wings. They were that big, both sides. And your little notice here. Do not enter the wing passages with tools or other similar objects protruding from any pocket, as the control cables may be fouled or equipment within the wing may be damaged as a result. There you go. So only the engineers went through there. They had to make sure they had a boiler suit with nothing dangling out. So that was that. Engineering, fuel, radio, and then the 2 first pilot, co-pilot, or second pilot as they called them back in the day. There was no center console here. They all their controls, throttles, props, adjustments were all on each side, because that door there, that hatch there, led through to the bow room, and crew members on docking and embarkation and arrival used to go through there, and then there was a hatch forward. You can't see it, where you used to throw ropes out. You used to open a hatch here, and they had the tow ropes, bow line ropes to hook up to the dock. And there was a hatch here as well that opened, and they used to put mail through there, mail, and there was a sort of sleeping quarters in the front, so you'd have a little doze. So these were the crewmen, able seamen, used to go into that nose area. So Royal Mail, a few bits of cargo, mainly it was for the ropes to hook up to either the tug to pull you into harbour, or the docks, or to a mooring buoys, and that was what they used to go from there. Obviously it was all first class for this. Back in the day it was a lot of money. 44 odd passengers. There were only 9 of these were 12 were only ever built. Pan Am had 9 of them, and because of a deal with the British, 3 went to Bowick. So Bowick had 3 of them because of a deal, and Pan Am had 9. The Pan Am versions, these 3 back quarters were state quarters, like VIP quarters. So bedroom, salon, dressing room. That was very much the Pan Am way. Bowick didn't have that. These are just like normal rooms, but they're all still high quality, high class rooms, and they make them like for day cabins during the day, and then the stewards make the beds up at night, separate compartments. And used to have a smoking room for the gentlemen, dining room, salon. Everything used to be brought by white coated waiters. Silver service, champagne, all on business, first class only. There you go. Sorry, I'm out of chat. Celestium in, talking in sim. I know the aircraft allows it. You need 2 points to triangulate on position, but ideally 3. Yes, yeah, absolutely. They take 3 star shots, an hour apart or something, and then they used to go back, and then you can coordinate where you've moved to, and therefore you knew your speed you were going, because obviously the stars were fixed, and you'd move about them. So Crafton, fascinating. Where's the fuel flow? Done that. It's not bad. 4 hours a wing at maximum wing level. Yeah. Remember my sim freezing just crashed when I tried to open the menu. Oh no! Oh, that's a pain, Crafton. You've had trouble, have you, with the sim? Oh dear. Yeah, I forgot VORs didn't get rolled out to airports into the mid to late 40s. Yeah, absolutely. That's smart. I bet on the FEs were trained mechanics. Oh yeah, yeah, they were trained in everything. I mean, these were the guys who were the best of the best. They could strip engines out in the field and fix them, all sorts of things. Very, very clever guys. Nice thing about flying boats, if you're over the ocean, somewhere you can't fly, you can land anywhere. Absolutely, you're never far from a runway. You're never far from a runway. Although, obviously, they were designed to land on water, you know, in lakes. They wouldn't stand very long in the open ocean because of the swell. You know, they were designed to land very close to land or in a harbour where it's protected. Obviously, they weren't, you know, designed to, you know, float for very long in big swells. So that's, you know, a misconception. They needed nice, sort of calm conditions. Grafton, unless it's rough seas, one of the Caledonian clippers lost due to freezing, flying in Bermuda, and the ocean was rough to land. Yeah, sorry, yeah, you've preempted me on that one. I didn't read that. Yeah, sorry, you've got it right. True. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's it. So we're on real time, real weather. So as you can see, sun's coming up now. It's 5:45 local time here in the Caribbean. So we're flying northwest. So the sun is coming up on the east. There we are. There she is. Sun coming up over the eastern horizon as we're flying up through the Caribbean. So we've passed Grenada, we've passed Vincent and the Grenadines, we've passed Barbados and St. Lucia. We're coming up to Martinique now. So Martinique and Dominique, and then Guadeloupe, Montserrat, Antigua, St. Kitts and Nevis. And then we'll pass through between Antigua and the British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. And then we leave the Caribbean Sea and get into the North Atlantic, our way up to New York. So current ETA is 20:55 Zulu. So about 10 o'clock this evening. So it's coming up to 11, so yeah. 11 and a quarter hours to go. We started 2 hours ago. So we're all good. Everything's settled down. We're at 6,000 feet, which is the slightly better winds down at 2,000 feet, but not by much, only about 1 knot and a half. So I didn't fancy going down that low. But there's no gain in going higher. The winds don't improve much for 8,000, 10,000 feet. So at the moment, 6,000 is the preferred level. Lens glare, yeah. That's just a P3D setting. You can turn that on or off. Some people like it. I just leave it. Can't be asked. But yeah. So we're entering the golden hour, aren't they, as they say, for photography. Golden hour. Dawn. Because when the Clipper got back to this area, it was on home turf now, because they had seaplane bases all along the American seaboard, because that's where Pan Am made its name with the mail routes down to South America. They had seaplane bases, obviously, in Europe at some point. Later on, mid-40s and beyond, they were able to cross the Atlantic. But they were mainly in the Pacific area, Pan Am. And that's why they struggled in Indonesia, because they had no charts, no bases, no nothing there. They were scrounging things as they went. But from Libreville in the Congo, that was a Pan Am base. Obviously Natal was a Pan Am base. Trinidad, Pan Am base. So they were on home soil here, if you like. You could get all the fuel they need, all the spares they needed. They took a month to get home. They took a month to get back. 150 hours of flying, as we're doing. But obviously they stayed in the bases for a few days, whereas we'd been flying like every day. We're doing like 15 10-hour days. It's equivalent to 15 10-hour days, 150 hours. Some days were slightly longer, some days were slightly shorter. But they did these hours, but they stopped for 2 or 3 days in each place to effect repairs. They had to have inoculations through the African area, so they had to wait to get all that done. At one point they lost an exhaust stack on an engine, so they had to try and scrounge that and make do and make things work. So they got the welding torch out and fiddled about with it. So yeah, there was a few days in each of the places. That's why they took a month to get back. Steve, are you back now? Endurance, you asked. Yeah, I mean, it flew about, you could fly 24 hours on it, non-stop. The range was about 5,000 kilometers, something like that, 5,500 kilometers. Because it was, designed to do Pacific crossings. So the Atlantic was a piece of cake for it. You could do it twice, out and back in one go. You're back. Yeah, I was just saying, because Boeing designed this for under the specification of Pan Am for use in the Pacific, it could go a long way. It's like 5,000 kilometers. It could fly for 24 hours basically, non-stop. So crossing the Atlantic was a piece of piss for it. It could go out and back without refueling. It could do New York to London and back. So that was nothing. But it was designed for these long-haul Pacific runs, like Los Angeles, California to Hawaii, and then further on down into the South Pacific, and then out across to Japan that way via Midway and Wake Island and Guam and Manila. So long distances. Obviously, if you're going to spend a long time in these things, you want to get as much sort of luxury as you can. That's what happened with the passengers. Obviously, there's no entertainment, no screens, no nothing, no films or whatever. So there's a lot of cards taking place, a lot of reading, a lot of eating, drinking, being looked after by the stewards. All male stewards, of course. Females were in the back area looking after the ladies' rooms, you know, all that sort of thing. But it was the stewards who brought you food, served you, all that stuff. Prior to hostesses. So there we are. We settle down now for the next 10 hours. I've got to do some fuel transfer management in a little while, so that's a highlight, something to do. And obviously I've got to check the drift and the wind drift every now and again, because we'll get off course otherwise.
Yeah, I'm going to do some fuel management here now in a minute.
Yeah. So we're coming up towards Dominica and Montserrat now, heading towards the British Virgin Islands. See, today, looking at the map, there are only VORs here on the US Virgin, on British Virgin, on obviously Princess Juliana, St Martin, St Bart's, St Kitts. Well, there's an NDB on St Kitts, 325, but it's let's have a look. Is it a low range one? It doesn't say, but these NDBs are usually only sort of 15 or 25 miles range. So St Kitts from our track is probably 150 miles, so there's no chance of picking that up. The VORs obviously had longer range, but we're not capable of picking up the VORs, only NDBs, so there's no point in tuning any of those in. So we'll get absolute zero. As we get further north into the Atlantic, we get weather ships, so I can have a look at tuning those in. But I rely on my navigator behind to give me the course. He's there working out. He's probably taken the last of his screen navigation star shots at the moment, because obviously the sun coming up. So he's probably taken the last coordinating star shots. He knows where the sun is and where all that stuff is, so navigator will just say, Skipper, left 2 degrees. But it's my job to keep the gyro in sync. Make sure that this is in sync with the compass. In fact, I do need to go left 1 or 2 degrees. So it's peculiar, this. If you need to go left, one would think you'd scroll down, wouldn't you? Turn left, but no, it's the opposite. It's typical. You turn it up. So you add 1 degree right, and that turns you left. That takes a bit of figuring out that. It's just the way it was. It's correct. It's how it is. It's not a bug. It's absolutely as it was, how the Sperry was designed. You turn left, you push this right. There we go, that's now in sync now. We'll reset this course indicator. There's a course indicator here, so it's a mechanical device, and if I set this either side of the course I want, and then I know if this arrow moves left or right, I'm drifting off course, so I can correct it. So that's how they did it. That's this device here, direction indicator. There. So you set that either side of the course that you're going. Check the course you're going. 354. You set that to 354, and then immediately I will know if it's drifting off, because you can't always see it. You can't always see it. If your wings are, slightly not level, or you're slightly drifting away. But here it's obvious. How are we doing on the fuel before I go and make some coffee? We're okay for a little while. We've got 250 gallons left in the wings. I'll wait till it gets down to 100 gallons, and then we'll start doing some fuel transfer from the main tanks. Just keep an eye on all the T's and P's. You see everything's slightly different. All the engines wear at different levels. They're all slightly different levels. Oil in, oil out. Oil pressures are slightly different. You can usually tell a wearing engine if the oil pressure comes down. See, number 3 is lower than the others, so number 3 will probably want some maintenance soon. The oil seals are leaking. The pressure's slightly down on number 3. So you've got to watch that with it like a hawk. These are usually the first indications of a cylinder issue. If one of the 14 cylinders in each engine has gone or is going, you lose pressure, and you need to look at the temperatures very carefully so that they're remaining in the green and there's not one doing weird things. And then if there is, you've got your cowl flaps, engine cowls to adjust for cooling. All mechanical, this. All mechanical, there's nothing automatic about it. So you've got the suction and the oil pressure for the gyro. That's important to keep an eye on. Don't lose oil pressure there, otherwise your gyro will go off and you won't know about it. There's no gyro disconnect alarm, like the Airbus beep 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 or whatever, the Boeings. All you notice is that the pressure goes, then you start drifting. Got to keep an eye on it, and that's why they had 2 people for every position. Pan Am's one of their. You couldn't go to sea or couldn't go flying without 2 people for every position. You got 3 pilots, so they could rotate. There's 2 navigators, 2 flight engineers, 2 radio operators, because obviously they couldn't be all on position for every minute of every flight. Some of these legs were like 16, 17 hour flights, sometimes more. So you'd have three pilots who could rotate, and the others would do like 6 hours on, 6 hours off, that type of thing. I think the crew were not double